Doing? All right, let's open it up.
Hang on 1 second, Scott.
Okay.
All right, we're ready to go.
First
Let's go,
question?
Jeremy.
Scott, welcome to Washington. First time at the Emerald Queen Casino here. Just overall thoughts on the event itself?
I thought the property was amazing. They were extremely helpful and first-class organization. And we had a great time hosting the event here this week. And I thought it looked great on TV, and it was a great show.
We came up from Vancouver, Canada. Can we expect to see you back in Washington State?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a need for more MMA here, and I think that next year we'll definitely put some more on the schedule. This year it's kind of already planned and booked out for all the venues that we have committed to, not just domestically but also internationally. But we definitely will do something next year in Washington.
Just wanted to ask my last question. Usman in his post-fight speech asked for a title shot. Is that something you're going to look at?
Yeah, I think that traditionally what I like to do is go back and talk to everybody in the office and talk to the fight team and decide what we're going to do next. But I definitely think that's one of the ways we could go. And timing will be an issue, and when Pitbull will be ready to fight due to his injury. And so I think that would be an amazing fight. But you saw another, killer lightweight here today. And I think that his name definitely has to be in the hat as well.
Thank you.
What do you think of Jackson's performance?
Listen, I think that he did what he had to do. Was it entertaining? I mean, I don't think it was, but he took him down when he needed to. I don't think he wanted to strike with him anymore. I think he felt Lima's power, and he said, "I'm just going to take him down." And that's the thing with Lima is that look, that's I think his Achilles heel is the ability to not stop the takedown. And so that's something that hopefully he can get a grip on and come back strong. But that's going to be up to him.
Where does this leave him? I don't know what to make of this, but he did take his gloves off. I don't know if that was just him being frustrated or something like that. But this is his 4th straight loss. He's clearly on a skid. Where do you think he stands?
That's something you probably would want to ask him. I don't want to respond to what he's doing and what he wants to do in the future. But that's something that only he could decide.
What's the status of Yaroslav Amosov? Do you have a targeted date of return for him?
I'll tell you, I do know that we obtained a visa for him to come back to the U.S. and with his family, his baby and his wife. I think he's in Germany waiting for it to be all processed and the ability to come back. And hopefully we can get him in the cage before the end of the year.
And then do you have a date for Nemkov and Anderson too?
We don't, but we're looking at a November date of this year.
Just one question. Co-main event, Tofiq Musayev, incredible knockout. The fans just went crazy. What are your thoughts about that fight?
I saw him beat our champ Pitbull in Japan 3 years ago, so I knew this guy was really tough. He was the rising champion at that time. He became a free agent, and when he wanted to come to Bellator, we made a deal right away. But you saw how explosive this guy is and how great of a fighter. You saw a glimpse of how great of a fighter he was because the fight was so short. But this guy is the real deal. I've seen him fight many times. Happy to have him on our roster. And if you look at our 155-pound weight class division, it's getting really, really strong, powerful. So I feel really good about where that division's heading, and we'll see what happens.
Talked about Umar Nurmagomedov. There's definitely a buzz about him. You saw the crowd tonight, a lot of fans traveling to see him. Do you see sort of the superstar in this chip that you guys have going forward as someone that can really lead the charge and be one of the superstars in your promotion? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if you really watch this kid in the gym train with Javier and Habib and all those killers at AKA, this guy is in there. I've went and watched him train several times, and no shortcuts in this sport, as you know, and he's in there grinding it out, and he's in there training with some of the best fighters. He's got the best, trainers and the camps. I mean, it's very impressive. And when I think about why we signed him, you saw why we signed him. He's delivering, and yeah, I think that he needs some fights and the people to get used to who him and not just Habib. But I think he's coming into his own, and he's able to develop his own fan base, and he'll be a star on his own right. And his performance will speak for itself. And I'm telling you, I think he's going to have some great performances for us here at Bellator.
Disappointing result in the Lorenz Larkin fight. He was backstage here, obviously very upset, but doesn't seem like he's taken any damage, no injuries. He wants to get back in there right away. Is that sort of your plan as well? If something opens up, maybe getting him back in there and sort of moving on from this?
Yeah, I mean, he came to me a couple of days ago and said, I'd really like to fight before the end of the year. And we have after, let's say, this fight, we still have 7 fights left before the end of the year. We haven't announced all of them, but I think we'll have a slot for Lorenz in there to continue and get his 3rd fight in this year.
And another big one was Dalton getting that finish, and it was sort of the matchmaking was 2 prospects and sort of seeing which one would sort of rise up. He rose up. I imagine a big fight for him next, or at least someone that you see, because he's got everything. He's got the finishing ability, marketability. He was talking with the media at length this way. Do you see that as someone else that's kind of a chip for you going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he and Romero Khan is no joke, right? So it's really impressive the way he handled it. And so moving forward, we're gonna get him a little bit tougher fight, and then we'll see what happens. But I think he definitely needs a couple more fights.
And just my last question, Jeremy talked about the appetite for MMA in the Pacific Northwest. Any chance we would see some Canadians on this card next time, especially in Vancouver? You've got Lance Gibson Jr., Jeremy Kennedy's originally from Vancouver. Would that be something you would think of going forward? Because it's a 3-hour drive, it's not that long.
Lance Gibson Jr. Is somebody we have very high hopes for, and he was originally scheduled to be on this card, but I think that he got injured or something happened. But he was originally planned to be on this fight card.
Scott, just one question for me. What were your thoughts on the Davion Franklin Marcelo Golden fight? Obviously a back and forth battle from start to finish. What were your thoughts on how that played out?
I mean, that was an interesting fight. I mean, after the first round, the strength that he has, just picking him up and slamming him, but then he got tired, and that's when you got to start digging, and it's a tough sport, and it didn't work out for him at the end, but hopefully he'll get back in the gym and just put in more work and keep working on his hands. And guys, both those guys are big guys, throwing some big punches. And in the heavyweight division, as you know, one punch one way or the other, and it's over. I mean, if he would have clipped him one time, I think that fight would have been over, and he never got there. And I think he just got tired. That's really what I think. I think he just got tired, and then he got submitted.
Then last question for me. I want to talk a little bit about the undercard. Obviously, in the prelims, we had a lot of exciting performances. What do you feel like that says in terms of the depth in Bellator from a talent perspective?
I think that when you look at building fighters from the ground up, I don't think anybody does it better than we do. I think we are very good at, and not just in Bellator, even before Bellator, when we were doing Strikeforce, since the business of getting an MMA. Building from the ground up is something I've always believed in, and we've always had young prospects, and we've always gone after who we thought would be the next, big star or had the potential to fight at this level, and then I think we are a very good star identifiers, star builders, and then we turn them loose, and then we give them a shot with everybody. If you look at like the Johnny Evelyns of the world, or the AJ McKees of the world, or fighters that have really come from inside this organization and built to the point where they could go and fight Gegard Mousasi or go fight Pitbull. Aaron Pico's another name that I think are right away. And to me, that's something that really what makes this company so special is that we're able to identify and build and get fighters to the point where they're number 7, number 8, and then number 5, and then number 3, and then if you got it, then we'll give you the opportunity, and then eventually they fight, for the champ, for the title, and I think that's something that we're very good at, and I think that going to all these different cities, we get the opportunity to look at the local talent, and maybe we didn't have a chance to work with a lot of local talent this time because we had so many contractual obligations for our fighters, but I really love going into the market, finding that local gem or that local person fighting on the local card, and give them a shot here and see what they can do.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
A couple more here, Scott.
Jim?
Yes, thank you, Scott. It's interesting because expanding on that, I'm in here in South Florida, and a lot of great facilities here training the fighters. I like to talk a little bit about the middleweight division because Dalton had a big win tonight. You have Austin Vanderford, you have the champ Johnny. All three of those guys are from American Top Team. There's so much talent down here. What do you think of that middleweight division? And I know you already spoke about Dalton and what's next, but your thoughts of just Dalton overall and his improvements.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that somebody asked me on the way out here, well, he trains, with Johnny, and would they ever fight each other? I think that's something that we're going to have that conversation sooner than later because it's just going to be a matter of time if this kid keeps winning. But, there's so much talent at that gym in Florida, ATT, Dan Lambert. I mean, I went to that facility and it was unbelievable. And if you look at the landscape of MMA gyms around the country, really there's, I would say 5-6 gyms that probably control 90% of the top talent, right? You got AKA who's been pumping out talent like for the last 20 years, and then you got AT&T, you got Stanford, you got Winklejohn, you got the Gracie Academy in New York, and there's some others. We get fighters from all over, but if you look at the amount of talent that AT&T has and controls and is building, it's really impressive. And I think they got something like 80,000 square foot facility with weights and training and mats and a place to stay. And I went to go see Horiguchi there a couple of years ago, and he had his own dormitory and room named after him for when he was staying there. I think he stayed there for a year one time, he said. They have a kitchen unit. I mean, it's really, really impressive. And Dan does it right. He knows how to take care of those guys. And South Florida has amazing talent.
And lastly, from me, you all have been here in South Florida, but does that lend itself to having another card or more fights here because there's so much talent down here, or that really doesn't play a part in the decision making?
We did a show in at the Hard Rock there, and it was a great facility.
Yes.
Had a great time, and we would definitely consider coming back. But it wouldn't be this year. It had to be something that we have on the calendar for next year because, again, all of our venues this year are already booked till the end of the year. And we're going to do some sizable fights. I'm really excited about some of the announcements we have coming out next week or the week after. And we're going to do some big shows in some major markets here in the U.S.
Last question, Nolan.
Hey Scott, any update on Fedor? I saw that he recently did an interview with a Russian TV station, and he had mentioned that him and Ryan Bader potentially for the fall. Is that the plan right now?
I tell you, that's a fight that Fedor really wants, and we've had that conversation. And this is his last fight in his contract. He told me he wants to retire, and I haven't talked to Bader about it, but it's something it's hard to say no to Fedor. Let's put it that way, and we definitely would consider it, but it's definitely not something that's inked or imminent. But we'll definitely have that conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
One last question from Jay.
Thanks very much. And Scott, tonight really displayed just the wealth of riches you have in the lightweight division with Usman and Tofiq, and obviously Pitbull's out there, Benson Henderson, Islam Mamedov. You have a bantamweight Grand Prix ongoing, but could we potentially see the lightweights in that format, maybe 2023?
It's definitely under consideration. I think that the chips are falling into place, and that division is looking really solid. I think a tournament would be amazing. But let's finish the bantamweight tournament, which is going to be really entertaining. It's one of the announcements we have in a couple of weeks about the semifinals, and then we can decide on next year's tournament. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.